Alright, for the last skill that I didn't get to go over in class today, I'm using the sheet that looks like this. I'm doing number 2. And so for number 2, it wants you to be able to write the equation of the transform function using the correct parent function. So I'm going to give you a graph, and you have to give me the function that would create this using the correct parent function. So this is very similar to when we were writing the equations given the parent function and the transformations, that skill we did earlier in class. So the first thing you want to do is come up with a parent function. So in this particular case, the parent function is the square root of x. Once you know what the parent function is, you're going to use the original function points to see what happened to get these new points, which means you're going to give me now the transformations. So step 2, you're going to write all the transformations that happened. So the first, here's the new point, 1, (-3). So from 0, 0, I'm going to use the original point where it started, 0, 0. And this is going to go right 1 and down 3. It also reflected over the y-axis. And then the last thing, I'm not sure, there may have been a vertical stretch, a vertical compression, but I don't know by how much. So if you remember, you can use the pattern from the parent function to see if it's a vertical stretch or compression. So the parent function would have gone up 1, right 1. So from this point, if I go up 1, and then right 1, the new point would have been here. And so the graph would have looked something kind of like this if there was no vertical stretch or compression. But because the new red graph is below the parent function, there must instead be a vertical compression. And my job is to figure out by how much. Well, you may not be able to tell what that value right there is because it's not exactly 1. It's a little less than that, but it's not exactly 0.5 either. So our job is to figure out what that is. If you can use another point to figure it out, then you're more than welcome to do it that way. However, in the case that you can't, this is a mathematical and systematic way that you can do it. So the third thing you're going to do is you're going to actually write the equation using the parent function and the transformations that you already have. And so if I do that, I know that I have the square root of x. In order to make it go right 1, we're going to put a minus 1 underneath there. We're going to make it go down 3. I'm going to put a minus 3 on the outside. In order to reflect it over the y, I'm going to put a negative right here, but if I do that, that means I have to put a positive on that 1. And then the vertical stretch or compression, the part that I don't know just yet, is going to be my a. Currently, I don't know what that a is. My job is going to be to find it. And this is going to be my equation. So a squared of negative x plus 1 minus 3 equals y. In order to figure out what a is, what you can do is you can actually take this point and you can plug it in. You don't have to do it this way. If you could figure it out using the pattern of the square root function, you're more than welcome to do that. But in the case that you can't, we're just going to simply plug the point in. So, negative 8 gets replaced where x is. There's a negative already in the problem. I've got my a, my plus 1 underneath the radical, minus 3 equal to y. Now you're just going to do the math using PEMDAS. You'll start underneath the radical. A negative of a negative 8 is going to be positive 8, plus 1 is 9. So I now have the square root of 9 times a. And I'll leave everything else the same. Oh, I'm so very sorry. I meant to replace y as well. My bad. So I plugged in x equals negative 8, but I forgot to take y and replace it with negative 1. That's my bad. I'm sorry. Now, the square root of 9 is 3, so I have 3a minus 3 equals negative 1. And this becomes a two-step equation that you would have learned in Algebra 1 to solve. You're going to add 3, it becomes 2, and so divide both sides by 3, and you get a equals 2/3. So now you'll put it all together. You have g of x or y or whatever you want to call it, 2/3 the square root of negative x plus 1 minus 3, and there is your equation. You may want to use this example to do the examples that you have in your homework. so that you know how to figure out A. But as I said, if you can figure out A in a different way by using the pattern, then you're more than welcome to do that as well.